What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with a Hasbro Star Wars Vintage Collection market update. I know we just did one fairly recently, but I had a number of different items in my watch list, and I also just been kind of casually searching today on eBay and found some other interesting sales that just happened over the last day or so, and I thought it was worthy of putting together another market update. And before I begin, I want to say thank you to all my Patreon supporters. I really appreciate the channel support. And if you're new to the channel, please, and you like, these kind of market updates with pricing data for some of the stuff that you guys may be looking for, please consider subscribing as it helps out the channel. Let's go ahead and dig in. We got VC-15, the Clone Trooper from the Revenge of the Sith. And I tried to include some things that maybe were not exactly super mint, because not everybody is like obsessed with condition, and maybe they can live with a couple of dings here and there. So I found a few that were like that. And while this one was actually in pretty good shape, it did have some kind of minor wear here and there around the UPC code. You can see a little bit of wear there. And, on the front around the tab, the hang tab, there might have been some kind of the tab has a little bit of damage there. But other than that, it's in pretty good shape. I would call this an 85 to maybe even an 85 plus grade. And so this is VC-15, one of the early TVC 1.0, and that one sold for $102 plus $5 shipping, so 27 bids. That closed on the 17th. But that, to me, I don't know if I've actually even shown VC-15 before in any market update video. It doesn't ring a bell, but I like the card back a lot. It's got kind of a nice pose there on the artwork, and seemed like a pretty good price. Another one that you guys know I've been looking for, I've been thinking about this one. This one had a little bit more wear than I was probably okay with, but, it had a little ding above the punch tab, had a little ding in the corner on the front, on the right-hand side of the card. But this is VC-17, I believe. VC-17 General Grievous. This one was unpunched. It, just had a little bit too much wear for me. But I wanted to track it anyway because, it's a pretty high-demand character among collectors, and they're willing, some collectors are willing to live with these kind of defects that were on the cards. But you can see it just had a little bit too much wear for my taste. Big litho tear there on the side. But still, despite all of those flaws, it still sold for $202. So that just shows you what a mint VC-17 General Grievous unpunched would probably sell for. I would put it at $300 to $350 minimum, just based on that sales price of $202. So I was really surprised to see it sell that high, but that's what it sold for. Here was VC-31 Obi-Wan. This was it looked like an offerless. Yep, it was a true offerless Obi-Wan Kenobi. Attack of the Clones. I think I have this one. I can't remember. But this one sold for $71 on 24 bids. It did have a little ding there in the bottom corner, as you can see, that the seller disclosed. But, again, a number of these items are acceptable condition for collectors that, they don't have to have super ultra mint. They just want to have a mint on card example to complete their collection. And as you can see, some of the prices, not all of them, but some of the prices are pretty reasonable for those. Now this one was one that I don't know if we've talked about Mace Windu yet in the vintage collection. So the Attack of the Clones Mace Windu, I've always known he's been pretty expensive. This is VC-35. It had one little ding there, and then on the back of the card it did have kind of a minor spider vein on the back. But, despite even those flaws, it still sold for $227.50. So that's another one that I've known has been expensive. And we have not seen any at auction here, at least that I've happened to notice on eBay here recently. So $227.50 for, let's call that an 80 to an 85 grade. I'd say 80, really, given that vein. That still sold for $227.50. So that's an expensive one. RS Singh, this one I think had some very, very light defects. You can see on the bottom of the card a little bit of wave and some edge wear, things like that. But, we've seen her, you can see right here, bottom right-hand corner on the back. But we've seen her sell for 140 or so pretty regularly, 100, 120, 140 even. This one sold for $85 with those minor defects plus shipping, about $100 after shipping. So another data point there for those of you looking for RS Singh. I really like that card back too. It's nice. Qui-Gon Jinn, another one. This one was a pretty good deal. It sold for $46 plus $5 shipping. It wasn't perfect by any means, but it was in pretty darn good condition. and some light edge wear up at the top of the card, things like that. But that's still sold for $46. That's a great price for VC75 Qui-Gon Jinn. Darth Sidious VC79. This one sold for $56. And again, not by any means perfect condition, but pretty darn good. Just very minor edge wear around the UPC code and in the upper left-hand corner on the back. Just very light edge wear around the punch. So again, if you're willing to live with some of these minor defects, you can find these TVC, especially the TVC 1.0, still unpunched, but just with some minor defects for, I call that half price versus what, a Near Mint Plus example would go for. Oddball, that's one that we've talked about in the past videos and how that price has really jumped up a lot, and this one was no exception. It only had one bid, but it sold for $110 plus $11 shipping. This one was by no means perfect. It had some staining on the card or dust or something near the below the punch tab that was unpunched, but that's still sold for a big number. On the back, you can see by the UPC code again, it has a little bit of minor edge wear, but that's still sold for $110. So Oddball is one that has really jumped. There were a couple of graded TVC that sold, and it's interesting because both of these are ones that we've covered here recently in other videos. Now, we covered an uncirculated 9.0 rocket firing FET that sold for $299. It was listed at $399, but it was best offer accepted at $299. This one sold for $203.50. So a pretty decent discount. Let's call that a 33% discount because it was an uncirculated 8.5 versus a 9.0. This one did have the archival case, but that was a great deal, I thought. $203.50 plus $20 shipping. That's a pretty good value for an unpunched, Boba Fett. And then yet again, we got another Ahsoka, first issue Ahsoka. This one was 8.5 grade. Now, what's interesting is that in one of my recent market update videos, we had an AFA 9.5. So this one's an 8.5. So a full point or a full 2 rungs less than the one that sold. But this one still sold at the exact same price. So the other one, maybe not the exact, but it was pretty close. The other one sold for about $800, give or take $10. This one was only an 8.5 versus the 9.5, and it still sold for $820 after shipping. So I just find that interesting that, to go from an 8.5 on AFA scale to a 9.5 on the modern scale for AFA is very, very difficult to do. A 9.5 is significantly harder to track down and find for one of these original issue Ahsokas. And I just find it interesting that one sold for, that 9.5 sold for almost the exact same price this one did. So just kind of crazy to me that an 8.5 would get the exact same score. A few others that sold here. This was TVC 1.01, VC 106. This was Neon Numb. And again, I love this seller's photos. He always has the greatest photos. Just really nice and sharp. This one had some very, very minor edge wear, but I mean, $62 plus $20 shipping, admittedly. But, let's call that $82. That's still quite a bit less than where we've seen Neon Numb sell. It's been over $100 pretty regularly. So even factoring in the higher shipping costs, that's a pretty good number. Jar Jar Binks, VC 108. That's another one that we've talked about that's almost always over $100 now. And this one looked pretty darn good. It looked like to be in pretty darn good condition. I didn't see much that was wrong with this one. And that one sold for $103 plus another $6 shipping. So that's kind of right in line with market for Jar Jar. This one, VC 113. I love this Republic Trooper. I'd love to get the original issue unpunched. This was the US card. Really nice expanded universe, and it looked to be in pretty good condition. Just some minor edge wear by the VC 113 logo in the upper right-hand corner on the back. Some minor edge wear there. You can see a little crinkle below the UPC code. So not perfect by any means, but that one sold for a pretty good price, $109 after shipping. Pretty decent price for that Republic Trooper. Same seller also had Prune Face, and this one was also in pretty good shape, VC 14. Had some minor edge wear dings here and there, but, Prune Face, we've seen him go over $100 almost always, and this one sold for $87 and change after factoring in the $20 shipping. So, I think for that seller, you probably could have gotten, if you were doing combined shipping for a lot of these, you probably could have gotten a pretty good deal for a number of these because they went quite a bit lower than I expected. Okay, I wanted to also refresh your memory on Antok Merrick. We obviously know that he just came out, and we were talking about how in the last video I expected him to be selling for over $100 pretty regularly. Now this one was another really nice example without much in the way of defects on the front of the card. It had just some minor scratches here and there, but that one just sold yesterday. So this is kind of post my last TVC market update. That one sold for $120 with free shipping. And it wasn't perfect by any means, but it was in pretty good shape. It's probably like an 85 plus grade. It had the little edge there on the left hand side of the front of the card there. You can see, maybe basically right across from the Rogue One logo on the edge. You can see a little bit of edge wear there, but still, $120 is the price now for that one. Now let's look at that versus what the sealed box for the whole X-Wing is. And so here's the Antok Merrick's X-Wing in hand now. This one sold for $165 plus $15 shipping. He had 7 of them. They all sold immediately. So what did we talk about? We talked about how they were going at $250 and then $220. And then as of the last market update, they were going for $185 plus shipping. Now it's $165 plus shipping. So it's still coming down in price. Now, admittedly, these all sold very quickly. There were 7 of them. They all sold quick. So no need to panic yet on if you're just looking for the mint on card here. That one sold for $120 versus the entire setup for $180 after shipping. So just something to keep in mind. Be patient on Merrick. A few other. Because I pulled up the X-Wing that just came out, I wanted to show a few others that sold here recently. This was the original issue TIE Fighter on the Empire Strikes Back box, and I can't remember. This was a Target exclusive. The last one, the newer one, was a Walmart exclusive. But so this is the older kind of version. I think it was 2010-ish. That one sold for $86 plus $15 shipping. That was a pretty good price, I thought. Here was the Toys R Us original issue X-Wing fighter in the vintage collection. That was a really nice price as well. $106 plus $15 shipping. Hard to tell what kind of condition it was in based on the limited photos, but it looked really well protected, and that's a pretty good price. And then the last one I wanted to show is another one of these Disney Parks Smuggler's Run Millennium Falcon. That one sold for $500 plus $40 shipping. So still a big price on that Smuggler's Run Millennium Falcon from Galaxy's Edge, but it showed it still in the shipper box, and probably just been sitting in a closet since this thing came out. So anyway, if you like this kind of stuff, feel free to subscribe and like the video and comment below with any of your recent pickups. Let me know if you have any questions, and I look forward to being back soon.